Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about the Preservation Society's Q2 box of beers. This quarter we have some really good beers that I'm excited that we get to share with you. In the Q2 Preservation box, we have Terreux's Annuel, which is celebrating 7 years of wild and sour beers, all blended together in one bottle. We have Humulus Terreux, which is a dry hopped sour blonde. We have Humulus Rye, and we have our anniversary ale, Ivoire. I apologize that I don't speak French, so I'm doing the best I can, but this year's anniversary beer is named Ivoire, which is French for ivory. So I apologize to anyone that I did not have a great accent while saying that. Ivoire. Now it is time for us to talk about Annuel, which is our Terreux anniversary beer that is a blend celebrating 7 years of wild and sour beers here at our Terreux facility. This year's blend is really exciting for 2 reasons. 1, because I got to pull the blend, and 2, because it's delicious. It's a really great example of, I think, the comparison that we get to have of year over year blending these beers and getting to kind of pull the blends as we see what we have, what's available, and kind of pull some great things. This beer, Annuel, actually started as a blend with a couple barrels that we had that I tasted a while back while kind of tasting through some barrels. I came across, we had a couple of barrels of a Belgian-style quadruple, and those barrels kind of created the framework for the blend as we built this blend. And they had a lot of notes of like blackberry and blackcurrant and kind of some like creamy vanilla, which is kind of what created the base for how we were going to decide on this blend. And I'm so excited for everyone to get to try this beer. So let's taste it. So pouring it out here, you see we got a really nice kind of like dark amber, got a lot of good color to it. It's not super light, it's not super dark. It kind of falls in that nice middle ground there. A lot of actual good head retention on this beer already. Looks really good, which is kind of interesting for a lot of sours, but we've got a really good head retention on it. Great color, nice creamy looking foam. Right up front on the nose, the taste of it's really complex, and it's interesting because right up front I get a lot of notes of like vanilla with a little bit of funk. There's a little bit of tart. Like there's a lot of aromas going on, just attributed to that blend. The taste of it is just as complex as well. I can really taste a lot of the balances of that beer coming through in it. It's got a really nice complexity that you get from blending these bourbon barrel aged old ales with a sour stout and a sour blonde ale, and the nice complexity that kind of balances here, and you get this really interesting nice dance there of all those flavors. It's exciting to the flavors of it actually hit a little bit of a tartness in my cheeks, which I really like that in a sour beer. I like for it to hit the cheeks, but it doesn't linger. It's got this nice kind of creamy medium body to it, so that it has a little bit of body where it's not just going to be like, it's got a nice body to it, so it doesn't actually have like a long finish, but it's also not a clean finish, so it kind of hits you in the cheeks, but those flavors still bounce around a bit, and I get a nice balance of those beers coming through. This is an exciting beer, Terreux Annuel.
All right, I'm Sam. I'm the pilot brewer here at the brewery, as well as the clean barrel lead. I'm here today trying Humulus Rye, which is a brewery classic. It's an old one that some of our more diligent fans might have had in the past. Hopefully looking forward to seeing again. It's one, to me, it's my first time, and I think it's gonna be good. So first thing you'll notice with this is the clarity on this beer is fantastic. For a rye beer, usually rye beers, you're gonna have a lot of clarity issues, and while there's a little bit of haze, I can still see with my fingers clearly through the glass. So first thing that you get off of this is you get a big hop aroma. It's a lot of citrus, but what's really accentuated in this beer is a really nice pine character. I think that plays really well with the rye that's in here. It's a combination you don't see as much anymore, but it's really refreshing, and people like myself who like it a lot. So I'm excited that we have it back, and even more excited that I'll get this in my preservation pack at the first of the quarter. Yeah, and I think one thing that makes this beer really unique is going to be the rye. The rye just gives it a really nice kind of spicy bite at the end. It can be a little bit drying, it can be kind of peppery, a little bit phenolic, but it really just adds a unique flavor that you don't get in a lot of beers anymore. Especially not in a lager. Like, I can't tell you the last time I had a lager with rye in it, and it's damn good. The rye is also gonna help us with this awesome head retention. You know, this glass has been poured for a good 5 minutes now, and I still have, you know, a good 2 fingers of foam. And you know, you can't really see it in the camera, but it's pretty. It's got a little mountain in the middle. Yeah, this will sound weird with this style of beer being a little bit lighter, but this would be a really good beer to take to like a cigar lounge, because all those, the flavors that the rye gives you are gonna be kind of similar to the cigars, but you're also gonna get, you know, a really crisp, refreshing beer that kind of balances out the heavy flavors of the cigar. Or, you know, maybe you're eating some kind of cured meats with it as well, but this is a beer that's really going to be good as a palate cleanser in those situations without also overwhelming your palate. This would be great with a host of foods, including spicy foods, and you know, foods that typically have strong flavors will pair very well with this.
Let's talk about Humulus Rueuze, one of our Q2 Preservation Society included bottles. Humulus Rueuze is a dry hopped Belgian-style sour blonde ale. A lot going on there when you talk about it, but it really has two distinct flavors: the sour blonde and the dry hop. The dry hop was specifically designed for this beer to kind of help maybe mimic some of the characters that we might want to pair into that sour blonde. We decided to use Enigma hops. Characteristics are often described as having like a raspberry note or like light tropical notes, but the specific one that I think is the most interesting characteristic of it is that it sometimes has notes of like a Pinot Gris. And I really think that that's a fun distinction that you're not gonna get in a lot of hops, is you're not gonna often find hops that are described with characteristics of wine. And so it was really fun to use those hops, to use them in a dry hop where you're getting a lot of aromatics and you're getting a lot of character from those hops. And then dry hopped into this sour blonde, which is a great base beer to drink on its own, but it's also a great base beer to take flavors. So the dry hop really comes through with a lot of robust character in this, and that's what makes this beer special, is that we have this kind of slightly tart, little bit funky sour blonde ale that then is incredibly refreshingly aromatic with the addition of that dry hop. That's a good sound right there. And that is a beautiful looking beer. Just absolutely gorgeous. Light kind of golden straw color, pretty bright. And then right up front, the aromatics, those hops just dance right away. Yeah, it definitely has a lot of character here. That not a lot of tart on the nose. Those hops are definitely leading the way, and it's really pleasant. Oh, and it's absolutely delicious. This beer is going to be a crusher for sure. Got a little bit of tartness in my cheeks, but that hop character actually like adds a nice amount of like the aromatics of that, but it also really brings in just a nice balance with a little bit of bitterness that lets me probably take some pretty big gulps of this beer. So I'm gonna say that this beer is a crusher for sure. It's interesting as a sour blonde beer, but with the dry hop, it actually really kind of balances it back down for what a lot of people might be hesitant in a sour beer. This will bridge the gap for a lot of people. If you like IPAs, you're gonna like Humulus Rueuze.
Today I'll be drinking a 2022 Ivoire. This is our anniversary beer here at the brewery. We do one of these every year with a different name relating to the French gift giving for anniversaries. So this is this year's version of that. I'm gonna do my best to unwrap it here. We wrap it because it's like a present. Well, This is a beer with a really complex nose on it because it's got a lot of fig, a little bit of raisin, a lot of those caramel notes. This is a beer that we put a lot of time and age into, which here at the brewery we're all experts of aging beers, but this one goes a little bit further. This is a solera method beer. So we actually save a portion of every year to blend back into the next year. So this is a beer that has a little bit of the very first anniversary beer in it. That alone makes this beer unique and something to seek out, but you know, on top of that, it's also a delicious beer, one of my favorites every year. This beer's batch is a little bit sweeter than past batches, which works well for the flavor profile of this beer. It really accentuates the caramel flavors. It goes to a very dark, a little bit roasty. Yeah, there's so much going on in this beer. This is a beer that you'll have a completely different experience at the beginning and into the glass. Every sip kind of opens you up to new flavors. It's got a lot of those characteristics we see in wine. It's got a little bit of leather, a little bit of those dried fruits. You could even go dried blackberry on this. Now, this is a little bit bigger of a beer, so it's definitely a sipper. But I mean, this would be a great beer by a fireside, maybe for your end of the season ski trip. Post it up at the chateau. Oh yeah, pairing wise, this would go really good with, you know, just some really good cured meats and cheese. This is a really good, I mean, I think this way about a lot of these high ABV beers, but especially a beer like this, because this isn't, it doesn't have the roastiness that stouts would. You think of, you know, some of what we're known for is these big stouts like Black Tuesday that are real chocolatey and have these sweet flavors that are, you know, just awesome. But something like this, it's a lot more subdued with the caramel. It's much better for pairing with those delicate flavors like cheese and, you know, the dried meats as well. So this is a great beer for, you know, impress your friends at a dinner party. You know, save the Black Tuesdays for your bottle share. Take this one out for the your classy engagements. So another cool thing about this beer is all of you Preserve Society members will be seeing one of these coming on your doorstep as a part of the PS box. And if you're not a part of the society, I would recommend you join just to get one of these, because this beer is exceptional.